Hey there, this is Joy Sang, a content marketer and founder based in Hong Kong. I help those with an entrepreneurial mindset explore their full potential with content. For those of you who are new here, be sure to check out all my other videos, give me a like, leave me a comment, and of course do subscribe. For today's video, I want to share with you how I schedule out my day, my week, my month, and even my year in order to increase the efficiency of my work so that I can attain my objectives and goals. The reason for me wanting to shoot this video is because I received quite a bit of interest in my schedule book over on my Instagram account. I'm a big fan of DIY, so I actually customized all the pages inside of this to help me effectively increase the efficiency of my work. For those of you who are watching, do be sure to watch till the very end because I have a surprise for you. So let's get started. I've been using schedule books ever since high school to plan out my day, my week, see when I should study, when I can have some time to go and have fun. And of course, I use schedule books now as a solopreneur and entrepreneur to plan out my day, when I should work, when I should set aside time for meetings. But one main difference between these two styles of schedule book is that for an entrepreneur and a solopreneur, we really should start big. That means we should actually start by identifying the goals and the objectives that we want to achieve in a year before ever deep diving into planning our month or our week and of course our days. Now what I've been actually doing is I've actually been using this in the beginning, which is called the Full Focus Planner. I received this as a gift. So a shout out to Jane the PR again. It's been very, very useful because that's exactly how it breaks up your scheduling habit. It starts by making you set out annual goals. So for me, I wrote down my annual goals first in the beginning of this year, and next it actually breaks it down into goal details. So it tells you to see what the key motivations are, identify the next steps, and of course the most important part is to include your reward. So by the end of the year, you should go back to this list and see what you have actually achieved and award yourself based on what you set out in the beginning of the year. It creates this very strong sense of anticipation at the end of the year to see how many things you have actually checked off from the list. Now, of course, on a scheduling point of view, it's also very important because then it sets out these next steps you should be doing that helps you formulate how you should plug in different objectives for every quarter as well as every month. So the first thing that I would recommend you in doing if you're considering to start fresh and schedule out the way that you should work every day, every month, every week, so on and so forth, is by starting with setting your yearly annual goals. So once you've listed out your annual goals and identified the next steps, what I did was I actually customized a table that lets me look at the whole upcoming year in terms of quarters. So every 3 months is a quarter and you end up with 4 quarters. Once you have that set up, what I did was I batched together similar next steps and I've allocated them to a specific quarter. That quarter now becomes this hub for me to do all the things that's required to attain that specific goal. And of course, as you can imagine, collectively, those 4 quarters then would help me attain all of my yearly annual goals. Now, one example for myself is in 2022, one of my goals was to highlight my strategic value and input for clients over just the deliverables and output I can give them. Now, the next steps that I recognized included things like attract higher quality leads and create more content about my strategic ability, as well as things like refining my service so that it included more proportion of work about strategy building. Now, once that has been done, what I did was I allocated a theme for those quarters as well, so that it really reminds me as to what I'm setting out to do this full quarter. It could be any sort of theme or title. I did it quite self-explanatory, and my title for that quarter was Strategy over Output. Then you can write it down within your weekly, monthly calendar and remind yourself, hey, this is what I'm out here trying to do for this quarter. Once you have your quarter set up, what you end up with is these tasks that's allocated per every 3 months. Then what I did is I actually look at these tasks on its own and ask myself which task should happen first in order to lead on and increase the success of me doing the next task. So let's just go back to that example I had about identifying higher quality leads, creating more content, about strategy, and refining my services. Out of those three things, what I realized is it makes more sense for me to start creating a content. If I were to able to create content that's about strategic ability and receive engagements and comments as well as feedbacks from other people saying what actually resonated with them, what made them feel interested, then I know how to refine my services. And once I know how to refine my services, I have a more specific targeting that I can use in order to attract higher quality leads. If I were to allocate those within my first quarter, January would be about content. February would be about refining my services, and March would be about acquiring high quality leads. Once you have that set up in a step-by-step mentality, then you can simply move on to calendar setups like this for a month and write them on the side or on the top and remind yourself that month your main focus is to do this thing. By the way, if you find my way of thinking very interesting, be sure to find me on other social media platforms and see what I share there to inspire you on a day-to-day basis as to how I plan out my business, create my content, and promote my personal branding. Of course, let's go back to the video and check out the other tips. By this point, you probably sense that pattern. Joyce is breaking down big lumps of objectives and goals into smaller pieces and allocating them accordingly in order to effectively create the work that's required. Now, of course, that's right. But once we move from monthly to weekly, things get slightly different. Now, I've tried it in the prior sense of just breaking it down and then writing every single little task I need to do every day. But what I've realized is that it gets very overwhelming, and then the focus of the day is usually scattered across different things I need to do. I might be creating a piece of LinkedIn content, and then all of a sudden I need to prepare for a video. And of course, there's the daily day-to-day business that I need to do, replying to emails, checking up on leads, making sure that my CRM or my other systems are running properly, am I paying my bills, so on and so forth. So the better way that I've actually devised just these previous month is allocating every single day for a specific purpose. So for myself, what I do have here is a weekly setup, and I've allocated that Mondays are for catch up and planning reports and reviews. Tuesdays are for content, my social media content. Wednesdays are for shooting YouTube videos. And Thursdays are for leads and clients, and then Friday I have it kind of free for me to juggle around undone tasks. And I've realized that that is much more effective because then I have a main focus for that day. So before I go to sleep, I know what to expect for tomorrow. Now, last but not least, we get to the day. Now, what I do is I actually split my day in half. So I have the morning half as well as the afternoon, evening half. And for those who are working from home like myself and solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, you obviously know when you work the best. What are the times that you are able to focus and really pump out the heavy work? For myself, it's actually after lunch. So I need a bit of time to wake up in the morning before I jump into my deep focus work. So what I do is any of the time prior to lunch, so before 12 to 1, is when I set out my availabilities for meetings, for calls. I go through my Google Alert and I check out daily news about social media, marketing, business, things like that. I go through all of my platforms and see if things are running smoothly. I check out my social media accounts. So that's all reserved for the beginning half of the day. After I do eat lunch, then I go into my deep focus, and that's where I spend 5 to 6 hours really getting that work I need to do for the day. So like right now, I'm shooting a YouTube video after lunch and I'm focused on just doing this. Everything else, I'm taking a block out of and I'm not paying any attention to it to ensure that I increase my work efficiency and complete this task on time. If you do have a schedule book like this as well, what I did is actually add these tabs next to the respective day. So once you flick onto your actual week, it's always showing up. So you know, Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this, Wednesday I do this, Thursday I do this, so on and so forth. Any extra task that jumps in, like there's a sudden message I need to respond to or a quotation I need to create for a client, then you just write in your daily box. and have it as a to-do, simple to-do list to check off. I actually have another page here as well. I do a lot of note jogging and I write down a lot of ideas as well based on events. So things that I would have to go and attend, whether it be an online webinar or an offline event, and just notes so that I make sure all the ideas I have is not lost somewhere. And last but not least, the most important thing is you can do all this planning, have everything written down, carefully planned out based on quarters and months, but it will only work if you actually do it. And the way to do and follow it is by establishing a habit. So every single morning after I wake up and have my cup of water, what I do is I bust out my schedule book and I open up to the first page where I have my 2022 goals all written down, so that I read through them, refresh myself again what I'm setting out to do this year, as well as this one page where I write down my affirmations. Pretty much an encouragement of, Joyce, you can do this. Why? These are the things that you've achieved before. So believe in yourself and you're able to do it as long as you put in the work. So again, after you set out all these things, perhaps based on my tips, based on your own personal preferences, remember to establish it into a habit. So thank you for watching up until this point in the video. I hope all the things that I've showed you, my behind the scenes, the way that I schedule my work, the thinking that I have has actually inspired you and helped you to better facilitate your planning for your day, your week, your month, quarter, as well as your year. Now, of course, I have not forgotten that I have promised you earlier in the video about a surprise. What I have right here is a completely free downloadable of the things that I've mentioned, including how to plan out your year, how to assign them into a quarterly basis, how to break down your weeks and your days that you can use and better effectively plan out your work. So be sure to check it out. Of course, if you're interested in the things I have to share, keep posted, subscribe, turn on that bell, and I hope to see you again soon.